Honestly, it's coach. You sit next to him. There you go. You want to sit next to Leslie?
All right, it is that time. You're welcome to grab another cup of coffee or water, or if you haven't got dessert. Before Jake leads us in the good word tonight, I just want to make an announcement that we've been sitting in the worship services. You've been reading the e-news for the last couple of weeks, but this is just another invitation. We are coming up into a wonderful season here at Faith Lutheran. My goodness, we're coming a week from Sunday. We're Palm Sunday already, and then, of course, Holy Week and Easter. What that means is that we have lots of roles for people to enter into worship leadership. And so this is just another ask that if you are a person who's interested in greeting people as they come to worship the next few weeks, if you are a person who would be willing to read in Scripture in worship, if you're a person who would like to light candles or carry the processional cross, if you are a person who would like to be a communion assistant, all of those are ways in which you are invited to help participate in worship leadership. The easiest way for some is to simply go to online, to a Sign Up Genius. That link is in our e-news, it's on our website. And if that is not your thing, well then you can just simply call Eric Allestead over here at our church office and he will be glad to sign you up. So anyway, that's just another invitation, another plea to participate in the life of this wonderful congregation, especially as we move into these holy days ahead of us. So with that, Jake.
Thank you, Pastor Eric. Hi, everybody. It's me, Jake, your friendly neighborhood director of youth and family ministry. Normally on Wednesday nights, it is my pleasure to work with our junior high and high school students in confirmation. I typically will teach class, usually without a script. I can't think if there's ever been a time I've used a script, so I'm just going to use notes. I hope you're all cool with that. We're going to build the parachuting on the way down, okay? We're going to figure this out together. I just want to say, first of all, this is really nice. Like, isn't this really nice to be together again in St. Michael's Hall? So when we were playing with the kids, we went around the table and everybody got assigned, first of all, after we came up with many 5-letter words that were vaguely church-y, we assigned who would be speaking on what week, and I got to be assigned grace. And if you've been in church for any length of time, you know we talk about grace a lot. Like, a lot. You know how sometimes you hear a word or you say a word, there's that phenomenon where you hear it or say it so much that it like stops having any relationship with reality? You know what I'm talking about? Like, it just becomes a collection of sounds. Does anybody know what that's called? It has like an actual name. It's like, for example, if you were going to say the word snow over and over again, snow. What a weird word. That's called semantic satiation. Semantic satiation. Satiate, like when you're satiated, you're like filled to the brim, you're filled to the max. I feel like for me sometimes one of the hurdles that I'm constantly coming up against at church is something that I call sacramental satiation, which is I have participated in Eucharist. I've had communion so many times that it becomes this routine, that it happens so frequently that I start to lose sight or lose touch with the quote-unquote real meaning of communion, or it becomes this abstracted collection of actions that's not really tethered to the true meaning of communion. Does that make sense? Sacramental satiation. Now, one of the things that I really love about my wife, Libby, is that she is so generous with praise. For example, she reminds me all the time how good I am at coming up with terrible analogies. So if you'll forgive me, I would like to make a terrible analogy tonight to try and help out with a little bit of this sacramental satiation, a little bit of this, like, we hear about grace all the time, but like, what's really going on here? Now, last Friday, I decided I was going to invite a few friends over to watch the Iowa State basketball game. Rest in peace. And so I got home and I'm like, doing my thing. I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to have company tonight. This isn't really going to do. This being the state of the house. Now, if you walk down our basement stairs, at the bottom of the stairs, this is last Friday at like 4 o'clock. The bottom of the stairs, there's this big Tupperware tub that was full of Hot Wheels racetrack tracks and various Hot Wheels related memorabilia. Okay, but this was strewn everywhere at the bottom of the stairs. And friends, it had been that way for an entire week. Okay? Myself, Libby, Grayson, we've made hundreds of trips up and down these stairs, stepping over this thing, instead of just picking it up or pushing it to the side. It's true. In fact, I was thinking about this a week ago. I decided to take a picture of it, and I'll put it up on the screen here for you now. So for 7 days, we would step over that big mess, do whatever we needed to do in the basement, and then like at 11 o'clock at night, this is true. Yes, and then like at 11 o'clock at night, I would stumble upstairs, kick a Hot Wheels track on my way, and be good. But I was going to have friends over. You can't have this. I can have it on my own, in my own time, my own house, my wife. We don't mind it. We'll get around to it eventually. But if you're going to have people over, you got to pick up. So, of course, I put things there and I pushed it off to the side so that we had a clear path. This is something that I do, a lot of us do all the time. When you have guests over to your house, for me, that's like the time when the house gets the most clean. I'm sure Libby knows by now that if she wants me to do some intense cleaning, all she has to say is, people are coming over, and I will go bananas. I'll be wiping down everything in the bathroom. I'm lighting candles. I'm rolling up towels. It's basically the Hilton in my house, getting ready for all these people to come over. But it never, ever, ever, ever looks like that. The difference between the bathroom as we walk in our front door now and when we have guests over is frankly disgusting. But that's how we live our life, right? Till we get around to cleaning it up. And the reality is, for me, I'm just a pretty big mess, right? What a lot of my friends and people who hang out with me, people I interact with day to day, the Jake that they see is the Jake that has been cleaned up for guests, right? They're not seeing the Jake who has clothes from last September that he still hasn't put away that are like full of cat hair and all that stuff on the floor by the bottom of my dresser in my room that I've heard need to be picked up many times. I'm like, I'll get around to it. They don't see that, right? You have to go like way into the house before you get to see kind of like the real state of things. Every once in a while I'll clean things up. But for the most part, our houses and places where we live, they just look lived in. You know what I'm saying? I have this note here. I don't know what I was referencing here, but you know how there's like marketing tactics to make things sound nicer than they are? Like you'll get cream for your coffee, but instead of saying cream, they'll say it's creme. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's the exact same thing. It's creme. I like to think not that I'm a mess, but that I'm a mess. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm a big mess, but I'm like kind of like a fancy mess. So I guess that's what that note meant. The point is, we spend a lot of time curating a version of ourselves for the world. And for me, what happens when I go to communion over and over and over again, I start to feel like that sort of clean, sanitized, really nice, posh-looking grace is what I'm getting, because it's like, that's the me that I present to the world so much. But God's grace, I have to remind myself, reaches deep down. God's grace goes deep into the trenches of your house. I'm not talking about fresh linen, Yankee Candle in the bathroom grace. I'm talking about dirty back corner of the closet grace. Does that make sense? And when I get into church on Sunday morning, I have to remind myself, this is the grace that I am receiving. The grace for the version of me that nobody ever sees. It covers all the light and fluffy stuff too. Of course, God's grace covers everything. But all the deep stuff, all the deep down stuff, that's the grace that I'm talking about. Do you smell what I'm stepping in? Okay. Confirmation kids are just like, okay. Okay, with that, I would like to invite you to prepare your hearts and minds for the Holden evening prayer this evening. What we are going to do, if you've not done this before, when you get to like page 2 or 3 or whatever, there's a little section called Psalmody, okay? The Psalmody has 2 parts, part 1, part 2, okay? If you are, you got to look at me right now, if you are on this side of me, you will sing part 1. If you are on this side of me, you will sing part 2. Capiche? All right, thank you. Jesus Christ, you are the light of the world. Lord, is overflow. Sing with us now, for it is evening. And the day is almost over. Let your light scatter the darkness and shine within your people here. Joyous light of heavenly glory, loving glow of God's own face, you sing creation's story, shine on every path and praise. Now as evening falls around us, we shall raise our songs to you. God of daybreak, God of shadows, come and light our hearts anew. In the stars that grace the darkness, in the blazing sun of dawn, in the light of peace and wisdom, we can hear your quiet song. Love that fills the night with wonder, love that mourns the weary soul, love that bursts all chains asunder, set us free and make us whole. You make the heavens splendor, every dancing star of night, make us shine with gentle justice, let us each reflect your light. Mighty God of all creation, gentle Christ who lights our way, loving Spirit of salvation, lead us on to endless day.
no harm. Great and mighty are you, O faithful one. Strong is your justice, strong your love. As you promised to Sarah and Abraham, kindness forevermore. My soul proclaims your greatness, O God, and my spirit rejoices in you. You have looked with love on your servant here, and blessed me all my life through.
Great and merciful God, source and ground of all goodness and life, give to your people the peace that passes all understanding, and the will to live your gospel of mercy and justice through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. God, remember us in your love and teach us to pray.
Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our sins, as we forgive those who sin against us. Save us from the time of trial, and deliver us from evil. For the kingdom, the power, and the glory are yours, now and forever. Amen. Praise and thanks to you.
Friends, thank you. Thank you for this time of worship and being together. Just a reminder, it'd be really helpful if you would just create 2 piles on the table up there, the serving table of the Holden evening prayer. And if you can recycle your placemat, great. But if it needs to be thrown away, please do that as well. Good night, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Oh, that's rich.